Follow me through on a little bit of a journey here. It's 1999, your boots are well worn in, your fingers smell faintly of clove cigarettes, your clothes smell like patchouli and thrifted leather, and on the background, Cleopatra's Goth Rock 2 is playing on your old silver boombox that you decorated with decals of skull and crossbones, roses, band stickers, and some graffiti you did with a faded Sharpie marker. The night is just getting started. On your dresser, there's a club pass, one of many that you picked up from the local music shop. The music shop, independently owned and always smells of secondhand smoke and BO, but they have everything. And tonight, you're going to a goth night. Just music, darkness, and people who get it. $10 at the door or $5 with your club flyer that you picked up from the music store. Score! Then you blink. It's 2025 now. You wake up, entirely different world. But goth? Still here. You find it again, the real kind, the one that you know. The club still exists. The music still pulses. The dance floor is still full of people moving like they're exorcising ghosts. We like to keep them inside. The outfits are still stitched together from intention, survival, secondhand racks, and a whole lot of personality. And the community still comes in and hugs you like an old friend in a weighted blanket. Goth in the real world, it's alive. A bit different. Music is definitely more vivid, with new and interesting elements added to it, but still the goth you remember. Everyone seems to be a professional makeup artist these days, and you find yourself taken in by the sudden advancement in black lipstick. Matte, rich, seemingly unsmudgeable. That is a feat. So you turn to the internet and attempt to figure out who or what created such a lipstick. No longer AOL, but something far more vast. But what you find doesn't quite answer your question. You see something else entirely. You suddenly find yourself thinking, what the fuck is goth right now, or at least here? You just saw it, alive, brilliant, in the real world, but suddenly here, in this virtual space, it's cheap, tawdry, watered down, bastardized, sexualized, faster somehow, but not in a good way. You see creators saying, goth has evolved beyond the music. That any music, anything you want can be goth if you want it to be. And anyone that dares tell you otherwise is gatekeeping you. By those words, you'd sort of argue that they're gate crashing, but no history, no depth, no context in this space. Just outfits and shock value. Some looking goth, others looking like caricatures, all soulless. Both horrified and intrigued, you continue to peruse this strange virtual goth world like some morbid curiosity has taken over, and now you found yourself in the videos. You start scrolling through the videos now, and everybody seems cold, dismissive, and angry. They're calling the people that still hold the roots of the subculture gatekeepers. They say it's not that deep. But in real life, it's always been that deep. That's the whole point. So now you're left wondering, in 2025, are there two entirely different versions of goth? Has the subculture somehow split into some bizarro land? One that lives and breathes in the real world, and then one that performs on screens. But can both exist somehow without distorting each other? Or has something been lost in translation? But you're not here to make declarations, not yet. You just woke up. You're just trying to understand what the hell happened. You start reflecting on your time and how 2025's real-life version of goth is still very much the same, hold the same heart, the same sentiments. The way that it always been back then is that if the music didn't speak to you, you just weren't part of it. And that was okay. There was never any identity issues. And what really differs from today, no one had to tell you that. You just knew. Because back then, people understood how subcultures, music-based subcultures worked without having it explained to them. I remember knowing exactly what it was somehow via osmosis. I never had it explained to me. It's just sort of surmised. The idea of claiming to be part of one while disliking the very thing that it was built on, that would have sounded absurd. No one did it. People outside the subculture still hung out with goths. They still showed up to events, danced in the clubs with us under the same lights. They were part of the night. They were part of that energy. They were part of the story. But they never felt like they needed to call themselves goth because they knew they weren't. And there was a kind of quiet respect in that. It wasn't about labels. It wasn't about proving anything. It was just a time where you knew who you were and where you stood. Nobody needed a comment section somewhere to tell them who they were. It was simple, It was honest and it was real. I mean, let's start off with your foundation staples. Bauhaus, Susie, The Cure, Joy Division, Sisters of Mercy, and then later, all branching into different subgenres. So there's something there for everyone, all sort of orbiting a sound that was moody, introspective, and danceable, but in a tragic kind of way, the best kind of way. The fashion, the visuals, the clubs, all of that, it all grew out of the music. We dressed in a way that the music made us feel. There was no dress code, it was soul armor, and everyone's was different. It was never about being pretty. It was about being expressive, a little haunted, a little thoughtful, a little defiant, but most of all, you. No boundaries. The torn crinoline came after the guitars. And no, this isn't some elitist, you must know every band sort of thing. No one shows up that way. And for many, music wasn't the very first step into goth. We didn't all just wake up one day with the first 10 years of goth's discography just etched in our skulls. And honestly, that would just be dull. It's like a cheat code, because being goth isn't about what you know. It's about the stories you gather, the paths that you wander, and all of the adventures that lead you there. If you find yourself taking on the look without the roots, that's fine, until you start rewriting the history to center yourself in it. The internet made it really easy to blur those lines. Somewhere along the lines, goth became a tag, a search term, a shortcut to engagement. And now, people are genuinely confused when somebody points out that it actually means something, that it came from somewhere, that it's not simply a costume or a look, or something on a mood board somewhere. But here's the thing, goth has always been more than just how you look. It's the music you listen to, it's how you see the world. It's about introspection, alienation, beauty in the melancholy, and community in the shadows. That all comes from music, connection, history, and depth. If someone genuinely fell asleep in 1999 as a goth and woke up in 2025, one of the first things that they would notice is how clean all the goths are. Immaculate makeup, perfect nails, and I'm talking acrylics with gel top coats, spotless black clothing. It's all filtered and polished and curated almost to the point of being clinical. But real goth, genuine goth, it was messy. Chipped, black nail polish. Someone always had lipstick on their teeth. White foundation left in your hairline or on your collar. Because honestly, looking good was kind of important, but it was more of a representation of us, and you were far too caught up in living in that moment than really giving a shit about looking flawless. It wasn't about perfection, it was about being real. Those imperfections and that grit, it showed courage and it showed vulnerability. It showed that you were human. It showed that you were real. We all wanted that connection. Our hearts always reached out to each other. We're always in search of other goths, always looking for community. So it was important that we showed ourselves as we were, because our aesthetic, how we chose to present ourselves to other people, the way that we chose to represent ourselves, it was who we were, but not a calling card. Goths from back in the day weren't gritty and messy because they were somehow better or superior than goths today. Their hearts were just in a different place. See, in 2025, you have a lot of fake goths who are kind of selling themselves, and they're out there primed and perfect for competition and to stand out in this vast sea of performers. But back in the 90s, even early 2000s, the focus was on something else entirely, and that was connection. Connecting with the music, connecting with the people, connecting with those parts of yourself that just, it didn't fit anywhere else. But here's the kicker. New goths, genuine goths, the ones who are desperately seeking out those parts of their soul, the community, they see all of this polished and perfect depiction, and they really get caught up in it. They put so much focus on the aesthetic and just getting it right that they miss the point entirely. They miss out on those real life experiences, the real connections, the real music, the real community, because they've all been misled to believe that their place, their worth, all within the subculture is somehow based upon how they look, that they have to fit some stupid physical search criteria. And then they live under this unfair pressure with insecurities created by those who just want to rank and judge them. People who aren't even part of the subculture in the first place. and have no place to speak on it. Back in the day, goth wasn't just a look and a playlist. It was about people, real people, connecting in real time. We spoke face to face, sometimes reading each other's facial expressions, feeling the weight of their words just beyond sounds. Our conversations full of pauses, sighs, laughter, even silences, but not awkward silences. Silences that were natural and comfortable. Moments where you could just simply be together, disassociating side by side without a word. A nod in the club, a shared cigarette, a whispered recommendation of the band, or maybe a little bit of gossip. These were the languages of connection. Even when we communicated online back then, there were long emails that we really crafted and took time and care in doing so. Direct messages a la AOL Instant Messenger, they weren't just emojis and likes, they were conversations. These were all conversations because even back then in the old days of the internet, we were there building bonds because we communicated virtually just as we communicated in real life. And empathy, that was the default. We listened deeply, we felt deeply. Contrast that with 2025's virtual goth scene. Here, interaction is fast, it's clipped, and often very performative. DMs are flooded with one-word replies or you're just ghosted entirely. And comment sections, they're not conversations. They're like digital trap doors. Step in and you're fair game. And you have people praying to be somebody's 13th reason with such a cold apathy that's become so normalized. It's sick. Sympathy and vulnerability, they're viewed as weaknesses to be mocked or weaponized. Unlike the reality, the virtual goth space, the warmth of that human connection has been replaced by this chill of endless scrolling and liking and arguing. So much fighting. Don't get me wrong, I will lose myself in a doom scroll like anyone else, but no parade of vengeful cats, viral pranks will ever numb me into launching a cold-blooded assault in someone's comment section. Aimless cruelty with no remorse, no empathy, no consequences. That alone is to leave somebody waking up from the 90s completely shell-shocked. It takes years of distancing and detaching yourself from the real world, real life face-to-face contact. For cruelty to become as easily for you as breathing. It's like a reflex, not a choice. It's not just the communication that's changed. The tone has shifted from compassionate to callous, from curious to cruel. And in that shift, the heart of goth, the deep empathy and that emotional honesty, is getting lost in the noise. Somewhere along the way, that conversation, it got lost. What used to be an exchange of stories and recommendations, quiet comfort in the company of people who get you. They share the same heart and life experiences. It's just turned into a game of who can shout over who. If you're around my age, give or take, we need to understand that a lot of people today are not entering the subcultures the same way that we did back in the day. Many people enter the goth scene now by viral edits and short form content. They stumble in without context. They know the word, but many of them are searching. They're curious, a little lonely, as you would, still looking for your people. But instead of being met with warmth, they're met with ridicule. And it's either from people outside the subculture who are looking to exploit it or misdirect for their own personal gain, or from within, those inside who confuse education for criticism, who remember the music, who remember the long drives before curfew, the diner, finding woods at night to just sort of wander through, the clubs, the zines, the mixtapes. We sometimes get frustrated. We try to be compassionate, but you have lobotomized pelicans that swallowed a glow stick and decided that they're a lighthouse. They're out here making goth brain rot, and when the people find the subculture from them first, they show up, lost in their own opinion, but then draw a map like they discovered gravity. And then even when we're right, we stop being heard. And this is how that gap widens. New goths are all misled into believing that goth has no roots, that it's just an aesthetic that you download and wear. And suddenly all that depth goes out the window. And when they try to learn, they're either mocked for not knowing enough or minimized or attacked for daring to show that they have some level of emotional depth. Like that's a bad thing. And the result? It is a whole generation confused, defensive, frustrated, and really pissed off because no one told them the truth in a way that felt human. So here it is. Goth has a history, Goth has a center, and the only way it survives if we stop trying to win and start trying to share. Not just what Goth is, but what Goth means to us. Music that saw us through our darkest days, friendships we formed, the first time we felt like we belonged somewhere. Even if we didn't look perfect, even if we didn't know every band, that is the version of Goth worth passing down. Not through bullying, not through cash apping some Lego-shaped clown, but through conversation, through making space for curiosity and then guiding it toward the truth. And not everyone's going to want to go there. They're just passing through. But for those who stay, meet them with honesty and not hostility. Because if we want Goth to live on, we need to teach the language and not just critique the accent.
I don't think we've even seen the tip of the iceberg. I think the potential of what the internet is going to do to society, both good and bad, is unimaginable. I think we're actually on the cusp of something exhilarating and terrifying.
It's just a tool, though, isn't it?
No, it's not. No, it's an alien life form.
What do you think? I mean, when you think then about the
Is
future
there life
of it,
on Mars? Yes, it's just landed here.
but it's simply a different delivery system there. You're arguing about something more profound.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the actual context, and the state of content is going to be so different to anything that we can really envisage at the moment.
Leave it to David Bowie. He called this decades ago. The internet isn't just a tool, it is an alien life form. It promised connection. Billions of people linked together like never before. But connection alone isn't understanding. You can't truly feel someone's humanity through a 15-second clip or like a swarm of emoji reactions. Instead, what we got was noise. A constant flood of content that just drowns out empathy. It turns compassion into clicks, and it makes kindness feel like weakness. Now the comment section is not a place to meet, it is a place for you to survive. And we just scroll past each other, missing the chance to connect the person to the PFP. Because when empathy requires more effort than outrage, it just becomes so much easier to be indifferent. The internet changed everything. Love it or hate it. In the beginning, we dove into the internet with wide eyes and open hearts. We were excited at the chance to connect with people across oceans and time zones, to find Goths from other places. Oh, it was amazing. We found each other in chat rooms, and then we forged bonds that lasted decades. I still know the people I met in AOL chat rooms. Can't remember a person I met in a subreddit though. But the chat rooms faded, and eventually through the course of time they gave way to endless streams of TikToks, quick and shallow. Subcultures were turned into hashtags, identities became aesthetics, and all that empathy got lost in the noise. But if we remember Bowie's warning and we choose to look beyond the alien life form, we just might find a way back to real connection, to messy, imperfect, just beautiful humanity. So maybe it's time to stop scrolling for validation and start reaching out for real connections. Dust off the real, the raw, and the imperfect, and just remember what real Goth was really about. Being human together. But watch out for people who try to preach hate disguised as truth, who try to turn others against each other to feed their own ego. They divide instead of connect, because all of their noise is not rebellion, it's just more static. In a world full of filters and facades, authenticity is the real rebellion. Fuck the noise.